The Frozen North, Episode 6, our top 5 MMOs.
Hello and welcome to episode 6 of The Frozen North, your source for the best that story-focused gaming has to offer. My name is JJ, and I'm here alongside my two co-hosts. Number one, the Red Bull Rascal, Mark.
Howdy, how y'all doing?
And I haven't played it, but my brother has. It's Brian.
Hey guys, I didn't play it, but my brother did.
Thanks for reiterating right there.
I haven't played it. Sometimes I haven't played it, you know?
Oh, all right. Well, so episode 6 took a while. We had to take an involuntary hiatus.
So, if you guys remember when I introed on episode 5, I mentioned that I had the plague. I wasn't lying, as our fearless leader JJ also got said plague.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. We'll just go ahead and yes, I imagine there's a lot of people who want to make jokes right now about how you got me sick. I'll just we totally made out, and that's I mean, it's as simple as that.
Just straight up,
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
no, I actually I get sick a couple of times a year because I got pneumonia a while ago, and the scar tissue in my chest never really healed. But games anyway. So, but we just want to apologize for taking a little while to get that out. But we are going to do 2 episodes today, and then I should be releasing one, hopefully either the same day or tomorrow, and then the next one will be later this week. So
be looking for it.
Be looking for it for sure. All right, so what have you guys been playing, Mark?
I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV, Saints Row the Third, and Grand Theft Auto 5.
You literally wrote down the games that you're playing?
I did. I didn't want to forget.
That is a dedicated gamer.
Look at that right there. You spoke that like you were reading it off the clipboard too.
Well, you're welcome.
If
for
you
that.
can imagine, he was staring at a clipboard.
Professionalism is going to rise.
I'm impressed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good.
Brian,
I'm gonna freehand this one. I think I got it. Played Final Fantasy XIV up until a certain point, and then I had a few games that I wanted to go back. I was like at 70% completion, and that was Skyrim, which I haven't beaten that one yet, but got a couple of the DLCs working on those, and then Jack 3 from the HD collection.
Good choice.
I'm like basically on the last boss, so yeah, that's about it.
Cool. What did you say? Final Fantasy 14?
Yes, I said I took a little break after I got to a certain level and got to a certain point where I felt like I can definitely give my first impressions of this game, and
gotcha.
And then went back to finish up the pending ones that I had.
All right. I was so sick that I couldn't even play games for a week.
That's how you know you're sick.
I mean that's a rarity. Like normally I get sick and I'm like, oh sweet, I'll just sit at home and watch TV and play games and stuff. I could not move. It was awful.
Mm-hmm.
I still have a bit of a cough, but I did. I played a heck of a lot of Final Fantasy XIV. I'm already almost max level. Game's been out for a month.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about that today. I also played the first Star Ocean on my PSP. I like it. It's pretty good. I haven't finished it yet though, but it's from what I understand, it's pretty short, so I should be pretty close to being done. That's actually about it. It's pretty much just those 2 games. I've been hitting Final Fantasy XIV hard. So, like I said though, we're gonna give our initial impression of that game today. This whole episode is gonna be.
It's kind of our MMO episode.
It's our MMO special.
Yeah.
Woo! Yep.
Woo! MMOs.
Yeah. Mark's super excited.
Mark isn't exactly a big MMO fan like Brian and I are.
I want to like them, but I don't know. They just don't do it for me.
I understand. It's not for everybody.
Yep.
Okay. Well, with that, we'll move into our initial impression of Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn, developed by Square Enix. Brian, why don't you give me a segue noise that represents servers not letting people connect?
I'll pull it from my archive of noises. I believe the noise you're looking for is.
That's accurate.
That is exactly.
I've worked in a data center. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's exactly what my computer sounded like.
Yeah.
For the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
When we couldn't play at all.
Yeah. It was terrible.
Oh my gosh, it was awful.
Yeah.
What's kind of like really bad about it though is that not bad, but the game itself, like once you got in, ran incredible.
Yeah,
for
very
just being
bug-free.
released. Yeah, it was amazing. But man, just not being able to log in was brutal.
The way I described it is Square Enix was like, oh man, Final Fantasy XIV flopped. Oh, no one likes it. We've got maybe under 100,000 user base. Let's redo it. Maybe we can get up to 250,000. Let's just redo this thing. And then they redid it, and then it was I would say super resounding success. And it was like 4 million people were trying to log in at once, and they kind of went, oh dear God. What do we do now?
I mean, it's a good problem to have, but
but they did not.
They didn't fix it
They
very well.
were not ready for the flood.
Nope.
And I have been saying this for a long time. If you guys know what World of Warcraft is, it's gotten to the point now where people are. I swear, people are just playing it because there's no other MMO to play that's got the quality that it has.
Yep.
So they're sitting there playing it, going,
They
"Oh
want
God,
another
I
game."
just want another game, but I don't have one." And I
Absolutely.
knew the first MMO that came out that had the quality of WoW would get an absolute torrential downpour of players because they're just like they're looking for something new, and that's what happened to a Realm Reborn. That's why they had such an issue with their servers.
yeah, I think another big part of it though is they had the beta open for so long.
Yeah,
That people were getting really good impressions right off the bat.
exactly. It was smart.
So everybody knew it was going to be great, and
Yep.
then man, once it got released,
The floodgates opened.
it was just so hard to log in.
I
It
couldn't
was
log in
awful.
for 2 days straight. I tried at every point in the day, and it was just like, nope.
And it sucked because it's such. I mean,
You wanted to play.
absolutely. Okay, so to start off with, it's a. If you've ever played World of Warcraft, it's essentially that with Final Fantasy
It's
lore and war.
it's
in the
like
world.
it's reskin. It's got some Guild Wars 2 in there,
Sure.
a little bit, but it's generally I don't like to use the word WoW clone because that seems like but it's generally Final Fantasy as WoW.
Yep.
Is the best way to describe it.
It uses the class Trinity system. And Brian, can you explain to those that don't know much about MMOs what that means?
Okay, so in most, I'm going to say most because I know there are some that try to be cute and try to skirt the Trinity system, but it almost doesn't work. What the Trinity system is you have to have a tank. Now, what that is you have to have a character who basically his only job. I know it sounds weird if you've never played MMOs. His only job is to take hits. He sits there. The guys that you're attacking are hitting on him. That's all you want. You want all the guys in the room to focus on your tank character, and he just sits there with the most HP possible and just takes the hits. And then you have generally, and if you're in small groups, generally one of those guys, and then you'll have another one, a healer class. That's pretty self-explanatory. Someone to repair the damage that the tank is taking, and any other ancillary damage to the group. And then generally, I know in Final Fantasy XIV it's 2, but generally it's a 3 or 4, depending on. You have DPS classes. It's damage per second, which actually just means you're a damage dealing class. You're the guys who go in and you kill the enemies hitting the tank. It creates a nice little, I like to call it, dance, where you have the tank taking hits, the healer healing the hits, and the other 3 DPS killing the guys that are hitting the tank. Works out perfectly. It's quite fun.
Absolutely. Fun fact. If you played Final Fantasy XI, you would not know it as a DPS, though. You would know it as a DD, which stands for, depending on who you ask, either direct damage or damage dealer.
Right, and that's why I said DPS. It's just I think that's an EverQuest / WoW term.
Yeah, the Final Fantasy XI is the only game I've heard it referred
Okay.
to as DD.
Yep.
Everywhere else it was DPS.
Right.
But I've noticed a lot of people say DD and 14 as well because they came from.
Well, yeah,
11.
exactly. And I don't mind either one. I get it. I get what they mean. It's like, yeah, my whole purpose is to go in and kill stuff.
I think people are kind of just moving towards just saying damage.
at
this point.
I'm a damage class. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and move into our pros and cons. We'll start with the pros. I'll go ahead and go first. First thing, definitely I love the way that the story is structured. Like you literally feel like you are making an impact on this world and that you are the hero. I mean, it's so engaging, I guess is the best word to describe it. Like you literally feel like you are, the hero of the story.
The hero of light.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I think that's just when a game has that, like Guild Wars 2 does the same thing.
Yeah, it's very similar.
It's incredible. And that's one of the things that bug me about WoW is that it's so fast paced that you just kind of don't even care.
Yeah, you have to read the quest logs to get any of the story.
Correct. Which they're I will admit they're straying away from that now a little bit. They're having a lot more cutscenes
Yep.
and that kind of stuff. But I mean, this game, literally every quest will have a small cutscene, and I actually don't have this written down, but I'm just now thinking of it. I like how the quests are done. Like normally, I mean, it's just like any other MMO where you have your fetch quests and your kill quests and whatever, and they're like, in other MMOs, it's like, go get me 12 jars of honey from bees.
Why?
Let's say you run out, you kill them, and blah, blah, blah. This one says, get me 4, which is perfect because the combat is so much slower. And it doesn't take, it takes about the same time as the other games where it says, give me 12 or whatever, but they really, really balance everything out very well.
Right.
Except for dungeons, which I'll get to that later.
Right.
Also, I think another pro is that the whole, like I said, it's basically like WoW with a Final Fantasy skin. I love the gameplay of WoW. I'm not huge on I don't get actually engaged or engrossed in the story and the lore and everything. I think it's cool, but I don't feel the same way that I do with Guild Wars 2 or Final Fantasy.
Sure.
As far as my impact on the world itself, and the fact that it has that, but it has WoW's gameplay as well. I mean, that brings it home for me. It's
Absolutely.
great. It's a game that anybody can just jump into and play.
Yep.
And that's what makes it great, is that you don't have to be an MMO geek or somebody who has tons of experience with it to jump in and enjoy it.
Be honest with you, it plays a lot like a single player game for the most part.
Correct.
And I'll get into that because I have some concerns with that, but we'll just keep rolling along, and I'll come back to that.
And I agree with you, but I'll just add this real quick. I think you can treat it as a single player game.
Exactly.
You pay for it, buy it, get the free 30 days, and just play through the single. You can get through the single player campaign in 30 days. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, easily.
Get to 50. If you'll know by then if you want to keep playing or not, and if you don't, then you've still got a great story, a great everything there, and it's phenomenal. So I think it's totally worth it to just buy it just for that. But another one of my pluses, that one character can do it all.
That is cool.
In other games, you make a handful of characters and you're like, oh, well, I'll have this class be a warrior, I'll have this character be a hunter, I'll have this character be a mage, whatever. This one, you just change your weapon and boom, you're another class, and you can start leveling up as that one. Final Fantasy XI had the same thing. It wasn't as streamlined though. You had to literally go back to your what was called a Mog house, which is like your player house, and change your job there. And it was just kind of a hassle. This one makes it so much easier and so much more accessible. And just the fact that one character can do everything is great, because if you say you are playing through the story and you get to a certain point and you're like, man, I'm playing as a tank, I can't tank this fight, I'm terrible at it. Well, level up another job and you can still be at that point and do it, as a damage class or as a healer. So I really like that aspect, which is why I liked 11 so much as well. The last thing is that the graphics and the music, top notch.
Yes,
hands down. I mean, what else is there to say? Just amazing. And if you've got a PC that runs it beautifully, oh man,
you're in for a treat.
It's great. So yeah, those are my pros.
Yeah, you really hit on a lot of my pros as well. Obviously, having a nice high definition MMORPG that doesn't look like World of Warcraft is a nice change. Probably even more so for you guys who've really played World of Warcraft and are getting tired of it.
Yeah.
The music is also, there's plenty of good music in MMORPGs, but it's got that Final Fantasy flair to it.
Yep.
And I really loved the subtle piano music that it would play sometimes. It had some memorable, there's lots of MMOs that kind of make you feel like the hero, sort of. But if you don't care about the characters you're surrounded with, then it doesn't really impact you the same way.
Yep.
But this had awesome characters like Thancred and Raubon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of times where I'll play through an MMO and I won't remember half of their names and stuff. But this one, like Brian said, it literally feels like you're just playing a single player game.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I like Star Wars too.
Right.
When it first came out.
And are you done, Mark? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You go ahead with your thought.
Well, obviously my pros are very similar. The story's excellent. The visuals, there are times when I'll stop my character. I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but you can see the remnants of when Bahamut destroyed the first world, the big spires of the glowing, whatever that stuff is, the glowing fire, and you're just like, oh my god, that is so just the visuals, the music, the single player experience. This is what I want to talk about, because I'm going to put an asterisk by that pro, because I'm only at level 35, and I know JJ, you're not max level either. And this is where it's a concern, not a con, but a concern. The reason WoW's leveling system is kind of boring is because they allocated all of their time to in-game.
Yep.
They said, the point of this game isn't to level up, to enjoy the leveling up experience. I mean, they tried to make it enjoyable, but they're like, we want to put all of our resources and time into once you hit max level, now you have all the stuff to do. And my concern is that, and so far I don't think they are, but my concern is that Final Fantasy XIV is falling into the same trap that Star Wars did, where they're like, let's put all of our time into making this awesome leveling up experience where you feel so cool. And then once you hit the next level, you're like, I don't really need to play this game anymore. You
have to remember, though, that, I mean, it's only a month old.
And that's why
release.
I'm only putting it as a concern.
Yeah.
I sound like a nitpicker, but like the more I'm like, oh man, this story is awesome, the more I'm like, man, they've devoted a ton of resources to the leveling up process. I really hope they know that they need to devote just as much of this resource to the in-game process. And I know that, and you know what helps that, the supplements that, is the fact that you can level. Oh hey, all right, I'm max level Dragoon. Let me go level a Archer now. That gives it a little bit of flair. But that's just my one concern before we go into cons.
I had one more plus.
Oh,
this was especially for me. I really appreciated the way it kind of on-ramps noob players to the MMO experience.
Yeah. Very good
Did
tutorial
a really
system.
good job of introducing you to dungeons and
even the classes.
Yeah.
Like I mean, we're talking about the Trinity system before, tank, healer, damage. They really have like the small dungeons, the little duties that they have. They really, really introduce you and teach you to what your role is supposed to be. Like I played WoW. Brian knows that when I played WoW, I was never a tank.
He's never been a tank before.
Last thing on my mind. But I mean, I've been playing as a tank in this game just because, well, I don't have to wait for queue times for dungeons and stuff. It's great. But I mean, when I first started, it was pretty rough. It's tougher to tank in this game than it is, in a game like WoW. But I can tell that I'm slowly improving and getting better and stuff. And I just did this one of the story missions, the level 45 fight that's there, and Brian actually watched me from his brother's computer.
Yep.
And
I watched my brother.
That's true. Yeah, you watched your brother play.
I went over and there he was playing, and I was like, I want to watch.
Oh yeah, nice. But I mean, you could tell how far I've come from the beginning to. I mean, I tanked it like a beast.
You're confident too. I can tell. Like you know what you're doing. It's pretty.
Yeah, as long as you know what to expect, and you do it once or twice. The game really, really just lets you learn, as you're doing it. So I think that's a really, really cool feature.
Absolutely.
Is that it for you, pros?
Yes, it is.
All right. Brian?
Should we talk about some cons?
You have any other pros?
No, we've covered it all. It's great.
Cool.
There's a ton of pros in this game.
All right. And again, I want to stress, this is not a review of the game. This is just our initial impressions.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I don't even know how in-game is, and I'm really hoping that it's good. But the leveling up process right now is excellent.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we'll go into cons. I'll go ahead and start again. Combat, like I said, is slower than other games. It's okay, but if you're used to games like WoW and even Guild Wars 2, you're gonna have to get some patience because it takes a lot to. To kill one guy, it takes about as long as you're killing a whole group of guys in WoW or something like that. The problem with it is that when you do dungeons, you're going to literally be in the dungeon, depending on how good your group is and how many times you wipe and that kind of stuff.
An hour at least.
You're going to be in there for at least an hour, 45 minutes if you've got a good group, which, WoW, they've got it down to 20, 30 minutes if you've got a good group.
I was looking at the, how they have those challenge mode dungeons?
Yeah.
Like 10 minutes, some of these dungeons. This is the record.
That's insane.
It's absolutely insane.
But yeah, I mean, I absolutely dread doing dungeons in this game. And I what's funny is, like, I'm a tank, so my queue time is really low. What I mean by queue time, just, for people who don't know, is when you want to do a dungeon, you can queue up for what they call a duty finder. Which
it's a rip straight from World of Warcraft's Raid Finder and Dungeon Finder.
Correct.
Which is smart. That's a beautiful system.
It basically assigns you to a group with all the roles filled. Yep. And you go in. The problem, though, is that, and there's really nothing they can do about it, is that there's a bajillion damage classes and barely any tanks or healers. So if you queue as a tank, you're in right away. You queue as a healer, you're in right away. You queue as a damage dealer alone, you're going to be waiting. Sometimes I've heard people sit there for over an hour, hour and a half.
I'd say my average is probably 25 plus minutes.
Yeah, I've waited 45 before.
So, I mean, I can't relate because I'm literally like, I click the button and I'm like, oh, well, while I wait, I'll go do this quick. Okay, never mind, I'm in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one cool thing is, our group that we have every class covered, so we can do it, together. But I mean, I know that I've told you, like, hey, when you get to this dungeon, don't ask me for help because I don't want to run through it again.
Oh God, that dungeon was brutal. I think you were talking about
Brave Flocks.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of how I feel with all of them. I run through it once just to get the achievement and be finished with it, and I don't want to do it again because they take forever. And I just did this one where I tried to run through it 3 times, and all 3 times, the first time we beat the first boss, and then 2 people quit. Second time we beat the first and second boss, and 3 people quit, and it was just me. The third time, same thing happened. 3 people quit after the first and second boss. I haven't done the third one, just because people keep quitting because they want to just get their drops and be done. And it's like, what about people who want to complete the dungeons? There's no punishments.
Mm-hmm. Right, and when we come around to me, I'll explain why I think that is.
Okay.
And there's a lot of like nuances I see.
Okay. Okay. Well, then moving on. Another con. If you like PvP, it's not in the game yet.
Not yet.
So I would imagine at some point they'll put it in. I hope it's better than Final Fantasy XI's because 11's was not.
There are no
good.
split factions though, so you're all on the same team essentially. You're all.
They had like mini games in 11
right.
and that kind of stuff. I really. I didn't go too deep into it. I wasn't a big fan.
I feel like a game that doesn't set you up in split factions is not a PvP focused game, regardless.
Correct.
So,
yeah. And I mean, it's Final Fantasy, which has always been about teamwork, and that
I have
kind
no
of
problem
stuff,
with it.
Another con: once you hit 50, which is max level on a class, leveling the other classes is very tough and very repetitive. Mm-hmm. You're forced to do like fates, which are like public quests. Which is a quest that's out there and anybody can join, which is fun at first, but doing that over and over, like we're talking literally like 1,000 times. There's also like guild labs and like daily quests and that kind of stuff, but it's there's no story or anything like that other than your main grindy class quest, which is like every 5 levels or something. There's just not beyond the first thing. You're not going to get that same engaging experience at all.
Yeah.
Which like I said, once you hit 50, if you'll know whether you want to keep playing or not. So it's totally just up to you. And the fourth thing, I already brought up the queue times for damage can be long because nobody wants to tank or heal because it's tough. It's tough to do that stuff. You really have to learn and you really have to know what you're doing. So, but I mean, if people would just give it a shot, the game really does help you out quite a bit. So, all right, those are my cons.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I had a lot of cons. Not a lot, but I'm used to playing games like Ultima Online, Asheron's Call, and Anarchy Online, where you're going to make a lot of decisions about how to level up your character. Mm-hmm. You can really modify it to the way you want it to play.
Yeah,
this game is just so linear in how you progress.
Yes,
right.
Bothered me a little bit. It wasn't that bad. It's a fun game.
11 was the same way. You level up a job, and that job has a specific role, and you're not getting
exactly.
out of
it. It seems like that's the way MMOs are going in general.
That's how WoW is going, and that's how all others. How WoW goes, how all others go is basically the rule of thumb. I'll explain that in a minute.
Mm-hmm. I also was kind of bothered by, like I said last week, 4 weeks ago, was the geography, the way you're restricted by the geography. Even worse than World of Warcraft. More load screens. Mm-hmm. And did there really need to be 2 to 3 load screens in major cities? They couldn't just have that as one area?
I agree.
It's definitely a small gripe.
But at the same time, like, I understand why.
Yeah.
Because think about, they already had server capacity problems.
Right. Exactly.
This is just to kind of alleviate that a little bit. I don't agree with it. I think they should have just... I would much rather have the open world like WoW. Mm-hmm. But... I agree 100% about the...
Right. Not a big deal, not a deal breaker, but
no.
It bothered me. I didn't like
the world itself is kind of small, too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's definitely a smaller MMO, definitely.
Yep.
I hated walking back and forth for quests all the time.
Yep. Well, you just get them
I'm
out now.
sure that I'm sure that gets a lot better.
It's a little easier.
Yeah.
But it's brand new.
Yeah.
So there's going to be expansions. There's going to be more zones added on. But I agree 100% that it's very, very small, very, very linear.
And it's actually a good sign if those are my complaints rather than it's filled with bugs and it's unplayable.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's actually an endorsement almost.
Absolutely.
For sure. Anything else?
That's it.
Cool.
All right. My first con, and JJ actually talked about it, is I've been playing EverQuest, and that led into WoW. EverQuest and WoW I kind of consider the same game. They were made basically in, EverQuest was made, and then WoW was made in EverQuest's image. So I'm used to faster combat. I'm used to just boom, 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 boom. Here's the, and it's really jarring going from a game like WoW to a game like Final Fantasy XIV, and I understand why they did it. There's really excellent animations that your characters do, and if you were just spamming all kinds of moves, you wouldn't see them. You'd just be like, oh, thrust, oh, uppercut. So you don't get that sense of like I'm actually doing moves. However, somebody who I find it very non-challenging. I haven't found like there's not a fight. It's too slow for me. They put a big red thing down on the ground, and now I've heard from people who are higher level that they stop that. Like in hard modes, you don't have a big red warning of where something's going to happen. But the game just kind of feels a little bit too slow. Kind of feels sluggish. That would be my first con. My second con is JJ also mentioned party structure. This is the reason why there's queue times that are so big, because their party structure is a 4-man group for small and an 8-man group for large, with 1 tank, 1 healer, and 2 DPS for the small, 2 tanks, 2 healers, 4 DPS for the large. Why is the ratio so tight?
Yeah.
There are clearly way more DPS than anybody else. The reason WoW did a 5-man. And I'm telling you, the reason they did a 5-man dungeon group is because they knew that the ratio was going to be skewed towards DPS. So, like, we need to get at least 3 DPS in for every 1 tank and 1 healer. And I feel like Final Fantasy XIV just went like, well, we're copying WoW an awful lot. We should just kind of not do it exactly like them.
What's funny, though, is 11 had a 6-man party.
And that's what I'm saying. You can add... One healer can take care of a tank plus 3 or 4 DPS.
Yeah.
It's not difficult.
Provided everybody's doing their job.
Exactly. But I feel like they just did a 4-man group because they didn't want to be exactly like WoW. It's like you've already copied so much of WoW, might as well just keep going. Why this arbitrary? I feel like they didn't look at the numbers correctly. They're like 2 DPS for every 1 healer and 1 tank. No, that's not even close.
I agree.
And so that it really frustrates me when I'm like, man, I have to wait 45 minutes because they just wanted to be different.
Yep.
Like, come on, that's not a good, I don't like that. I don't like them just being different to be different. You got to look at the numbers and say, oh man, we're going to have an influx of DPS. We need to maybe make the groups a little bit skewed. That's a, kind of a nerdy con because I'm kind of nitpicking at the ratio.
But you're absolutely right.
I don't like that. It's if you're going to copy WoW, then copy WoW. They did it with Duty Finder. What's the deal? Like, hey, we're going to rip Duty Finder directly from WoW's model, but we're not going to make the group. We're not going to make the groups exactly the same because we want to be edgy. Like, I don't know. It's one thing that bothered me.
Plus, why wouldn't you want to play with more people anyways?
That's what I'm saying. Like, why, and then for the bigger group, I'm like, oh, well, that's just because they have small party, right?
Yep.
Like, oh, the ratio will probably change when you get to large party. No, it's basically just 2 small parties put together. So it's like, okay.
There's when you get to like the early 40s, there's you'll get your last like the short duties that only take like 10 minutes or so. There's an 8-man one. It's the last one.
Gotcha.
And it was really confusing at first because we didn't have any coordination at all. Both me and the other tank we're like, oh, it's my first time here. What do you want to do? I don't know. Just pick a guy and start tanking him. Okay. So I mean, but it is. It's just too small.
It's too small. Yeah, the ratio
not enough.
And I feel like they need to address that before they get to a lot of in-game. They need to.
The problem is that at this point they already have all this stuff designed around 4-man parties and everything. So
maybe they'll figure something out. I don't know. That was a big gripe of mine. I'm sitting there like, why is there only 2 DPS in here? It makes the dungeon slower.
Totally understandable.
It's just I think my last con. It's kind of nitpicky, but I don't like how when you're in a dungeon you're basically on a different server completely from everyone else. You can't look at your guild. You can't talk to your guild. You can't whisper people.
When you're in a dungeon?
Yeah. When you're in a dungeon, you can't look at your guild. The guild, or what are they called? Free company?
Yeah.
The free company bar is grayed out. The shell command is grayed out. You can't talk in it, and you can't talk to people outside of your dungeon.
Really?
Absolutely.
Maybe I just haven't tried to.
There was a really cool part in a dungeon, and I wanted to tell you guys, like, oh, man, couldn't do it.
No, wait, no. That's not true. Because when I was...
Did they fix it, maybe?
Remember I said before that people had left my group? I was
you were still
talking to my free company saying, like, hey, this is just what happened. This sucks.
Okay.
And they were like, oh, man, it's terrible.
Maybe
we were talking about
maybe
it.
they recently fixed it then. Because I was like, this is annoying. It's like, I don't know who's online. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, no, you can definitely talk to them.
Yeah, honestly, though, that's basically my cons.
So that gripes out the window. Way to go, Brian. Maybe you should have watched your brother play a little longer.
Oh, man. But
with all the server issues, who knows?
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, I don't really consider that a con because I just think they weren't ready for it being so successful.
Yeah.
So I'll let that slide. It's first impression. That's my cons. It's a great game. I'm loving it. As soon as I get done with my other two, I'm going right back to it and going to level up and be a cool dude.
I would say for sure that you guys didn't play the initial launch, right? It's worlds better. That's all I'm going to say. If you played the initial Final Fantasy XIV when it first came in, oh man, it's worlds better. So all right, well, to wrap it up, you guys recommend it?
If you like MMORPGs, I do recommend it.
All right.
If you like MMORPGs that are very similar to WoW, because I know there are people who just are WoW haters and they don't like that style. But if you like MMOs in general and you don't really care about WoW, you're not one of those people who are like, oh, I WoW, then yeah, absolutely. This is a absolutely fun game. Like I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Cool. I agree. Definitely. It's incredible. I would say if you're a fan of MMOs, check it out. Even if you're not a fan of MMOs and you're a fan of good single player games, you're a Final Fantasy fan I am.
Yeah.
You will absolutely love it. Play it. Just buy the game. Play, the first 50
days,
levels and just do the story. That's it, and you'll have a great single player experience while hopefully meeting some new people. It is a great time. I can't obviously I can't say end game is awesome and blah blah blah, but
we don't know yet.
As far as
we're crossing our fingers.
As far as what's there now, initial impressions are very strong, and it's just a really good time, and it's I highly recommend it for sure.
Excellent.
All right.
All right, and here we are. We had to take a quick break just to switch out a couple of people. Mark is going to take a quick break, and we brought in our friend Stitch, who is going to tell us a little bit about the console side of Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah, he picked it up on the PS3,
Yep.
and it'll be nice, because we all play on the PC, so it'll be nice to see a little bit of a different perspective, because I'm curious about the console version, to be honest with you.
For sure. So, Stitch, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. So, I mean, you've heard the show before. Normally, what we do when we start out is we talk about what we've been playing recently. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, other than Final Fantasy XIV and checking that out, what else have you been playing?
Man, lately I've been playing a lot of GTA 5, like I assume half of the world is right now. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard, but it passed $1 billion sold.
We talked about that earlier.
You know what's funny about that is that $1 billion does not include any money from me. So I haven't bought it yet.
Well,
so.
Oh man,
when you buy it, when I buy it, it's going to go over the top, and then there's going to be like some sort of like apocalypse. So I got to hold off.
Do you ever just listen to yourself talk?
No. In fact, I try to like just say words that are, that just spew them.
I can just see the development team with this piles of cash just sitting behind them, but they're just sitting there going, I wish if we only had that $60 from Brian, it'd be worth it.
Right. They're really missing my sale.
Oh, besides that, I picked up Puppeteer for the PS3. It's a great game. It's 2D platformer, but the presentation is fantastic in the game. It's a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. It's only $40, so it's, you might as well get it.
$40 for a 2D platformer.
It's 2D/3D, but the presentation, the voice acting, definitely to me, kind of make it worth it. I mean, it has some interesting gameplay concepts, but it doesn't really, it's not going to revolutionize. It's just an awesome game to play.
I'll take your word for it. I'm not a big fan of 2D platformers, but I know that those that are
into them,
they're a hardcore bunch.
Definitely. They for sure are. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll just get right into it. We're just going to ask you a couple of questions about your experience on the PS3 because obviously the control scheme is going to be different.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know if the UI is different.
Correct. So we'll start at the beginning. One, how was the patching process? Was it quick? Was it slow?
Well, the interesting thing that I found is that, to me, it seemed a lot quicker. Now, like, I was talking to Mark, like, while we were trying to get patched because, new game, we both got it, so we're going to be communicating with each other quite a bit. It seemed to go quite quick for me compared to him, which is bizarre considering that, usually when you download something through a console, it's going to be quite a bit slower. So I was kind of miffed about that. But then, Mark brought up a good point that, both of us have Time Warner, and since on the PC they may be using the torrenting style of updating, then potentially Time Warner may be
Throttle.
Maybe throttling it. And then, on PSN, I bet you it's probably just going straight from Sony, which it wasn't. I wouldn't say it's a quick process initially, especially when the servers were swamped.
Huh.
But I wouldn't say it's necessarily quite a problem either. It seems reasonable.
All in all, you're probably looking at about the same.
Same, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, now, like if you're just getting into the game, it's relatively smooth. So.
I would imagine, yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, how is it as far as like controls go? How is it using a controller compared to a mouse and a keyboard on other MMOs? Like, how's targeting?
Targeting is, from what my experience, has been a complete mess.
I figured.
Basically, from what I got, and I'm sure somebody listening may have played the PS3 version and may have learned some other way to do it, but I tried my best to find a different way. But essentially, you use the D-pad to select from either left to right or right to left on the screen.
Oh, God.
Ooh.
It's fine if you have one or two characters on screen. When you have multiple characters, I almost came to snapping my controller in half because I'd be trying to target something. And I kept having an issue where I'd be locked onto something, I'd do one attack, and it wanted me to lock on again for a reason.
Yeah.
And a reason is the closest I can get to finding out why. So it was frustrating.
Well, basically, it's like the tab targeting system, which we know is not good. You're a
I
tank.
don't use tab targeting.
I played WoW obviously for years, so I'm a tab target kind of guy. Where like it's easier to just tab and get into my moves. The tab targeting system is wow. I'm like, wait, why did I target that guy over there?
No,
Yeah.
I don't. I am a clicker.
Right.
I click on the guy.
I mean, that's what I figure. So he's basically working with a tab targeting system, which in that game's not so good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, if they could find some way to actually fix that, either move support, I think there is potential for smarter people than I am to, take a move. Maybe may help with the situation on the PS4. If they could use a little touchpad that's on the top of it to maybe target, that'd be a lot better.
Well, you can also, you can just get a mouse and keyboard for your PS3.
Well, yeah, and that's eventually when you asked us to level up a little bit, then I got fed up. And I'm using mouse and keyboard, which brings on another interesting thing is that when you plug in mouse and keyboard, that works, but it doesn't really change the controls that much. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which you usually use to select your attack, don't work. So you have to drag down and click on it on the screen.
Oh, that sucks.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was better, but it's still...
And at that point, if you're pulling out a mouse and keyboard on your PS3, you might as well just get it on the PC, right? You know what, though? Honestly, I wish I would have bought it on the PS3. Well, I didn't have to buy it because I bought the original version and they just gave it to me. But if I was going to buy it, I would have bought it on PS3 because from what I understand, if you bought it on PS3, they give you the PC version. Right.
Do they?
So, yeah, that's what I heard.
Okay, that will help me because, spoiler, it kind of fell out at the end of the trial just for various reasons. But it's besides that, I think the controls were fine. If they could figure out the targeting system, everything else is fine. Basically, how you choose your attack is you hit right or left bumper, and that'll determine which of the directional pad buttons or which of the XO square triangle buttons will actually allow. It's complicated, but once you get used to it,
it's smooth.
It's decently smooth. I mean, I sometimes my fingers get tired, but that's kind of the PS3 controller.
What about like talking to other people?
I didn't even try because I got the feeling that
without a keyboard, that's probably a mess.
That's probably for actually just like even in WoW, I never really talked to people because I don't associate myself with those people, but I'm not kidding. But basically, when you clicked on it, it would bring up the on-screen keyboard, and as soon as you see that pop up on PSN, on the PS3, the only thing you think of is how do I get rid of this thing, and how do I just skip the step, because no one likes to use on-screen keyboard.
Yeah, definitely.
Be like, H, E,
Yeah.
L, L,
Yeah,
O, okay, send. Yeah, it's got to be
brutal.
Yep.
Like a lot of times when I was talking to Mark, I would just go over Google Hangout and just talk to him through that, because I didn't really even bother looking too much to see if there was a voice chat built
That
in,
makes
but
sense.
I couldn't imagine it being very good.
Cool. Well, I mean, like we said, we played on PC, and high-end PC is always going to run things amazingly. Have you had any performance issues that you've noticed?
Well, this kind of brings me to an altogether point that I kind of don't think this belongs on a PS3.
Mm-hmm.
I think this game just takes too much to run it. A total of 512 megabytes of RAM. I think kind of hurt the game for the PC users as well. Like a big thing that bothers me is loading screens, and that game has a lot of loading screens, and I think that's so they could kind of compress it onto a PS3 to get a broader audience.
We talked about that earlier.
Yeah. And I think if they would have just went for the PS4 version,
it's a next gen game. They just tried to port it to.
Well, that was the same issue that 11 ran into. 11 also came out on the PS2, which was a cool concept because it's like, well, you can play on console or your PC, and you can play together.
Sure.
However, they would come out with expansions and stuff, and they'd be like, well, we can't include what we want to include fully because of technical issues. But everybody knew it was because, you can't do that much on the PS2.
Limitations of the PS2, right.
So, that's... I think it's a cool idea to be able to do cross-platform gaming, but if you're going to limit yourself like that, I don't think it's worth it.
Cross-platform gaming, I'd want that, but I don't think MMO is the right genre.
Correct. Yeah, first-person shooter.
That's what I'm saying.
That way we can shut up all those console gamers who think they're better.
Exactly.
Well, they actually, on the Xbox, they did that with Shadowrun, cross-platform between PC and 360. They found like, PC had a slight advantage, but not quite as big an advantage as they wanted. But the problem is that the gamers kept whining because, they're just bad at the game, but they didn't want to play themselves.
Like, he's playing with mouse and keyboard. It's easier.
Yeah. And I think a slower-paced game like an MMO, which, it is a slower-paced game than a first-person shooter, I think that would translate better to controller. Like, people can't really complain because, I didn't, like, besides the targeting issue I was having earlier, they can't really complain too much about that.
Well, the problem with MMOs on consoles is the patching or the expansion process.
Correct.
It's like you can only, like with JJ, I know you've played WoW for many years like me. They have made ridiculous graphical upgrades over the almost 10 years.
They wouldn't be able to do that.
No, because you'll hit a wall, and that's the the problem with consoles is they only go so far. Then you start getting limitations. With PC, it's like, they'll have upgraded hardware in their
exactly.
PC. So
if Final Fantasy XIV is around in 10 years,
it's going to look much better. Hopefully.
Yeah, but it's still going to be out on PS3. What are they going to do with that? Are they going to discontinue it?
Well, I hope they don't go, well, we can't, like you said. I hope it's not like, well, we can't do this.
That's the problem, and that's what Final Fantasy XI ran into.
Yeah, I think the only reason why they put it on the PS3 is so they had more market penetration, because PS3 is out there more than PS4 will be. I think eventually, when the PS4 is a more dominant system in the industry, then
they'll port it.
Well, they're already going to port it.
They're already saying that if you bought it on PS3, you
then
automatically get it on
upgrade.
PS4.
That's good.
That's why I bought digital. Various reasons, but I bought digitally for one of those reasons, so I could just download it.
And I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
what about I'm sure
they're
going to
hit a wall with the PS4.
But what about those people who don't get a PS4 and just wanted a PS3?
I get the feeling that if they're that hardcore about the game, I would assume that a majority of them would upgrade to the PS4 version, because to get back to the whole to the topic, the performance issues, the PS3 got real choppy at times.
Really?
I would imagine.
Like when you were just like running across like a field, or you're on the outskirts of towns, it's fine. The big issue is when you get into the cities. There are so many character models it has to render, and that's a big chunk.
I can't even imagine what Fates must have been like then.
Oh, and the spell effects? Oh my god!
They dumbed down a lot of that in the PS3 version.
That sucks.
It was pretty bad, but at times I would have to actually push up to get a better frame rate, so then I have to render all the characters
That sucks.
at a distance. Is it playable? Yes. Is it the optimal experience? No. I'm going back. I was a really big PC gamer for a while. Got too expensive for me, and I have a bad habit of constantly upgrading my stuff.
Yeah.
So I got out of it to go to consoles. But now this game kind of proven to me that I still want to go back to PC.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because
There are certain things that PC are better
Well,
for.
and like you said, I had to put a limitation on my upgrading because I just did. I don't upgrade anything, but once every 3 years.
Yeah.
So, and then it forces me, I want to get the new GTX 780 that's out, but I'm going to wait. And my 3-year mark's coming up next year, so I'll wait till then and I'll get it. So, because it can get expensive if you don't know, the limit. If you're just I'm going to upgrade every single time they come out with something new, you're going to be paying thousands of dollars every 3 months.
For sure.
it kind of turned for me, it turned into a hot rod kind of a situation where
Sure.
I kept pumping money into it that I didn't need to because it's not really making. I mean, my monitor can only display 60 frames per second. Why do I need to have 200 frame per second game?
Right.
Yep. Okay. Well, moving on. Does it feel like the UI was tailored for the PS3, or does it feel like it'd be easier to navigate on a PC?
They did their best, what they could. I mean, obviously, like I mentioned before, the targeting issue is a big issue in an MMO. But as far as everything else, it seemed to run decently well. When I plugged in a mouse and keyboard, it definitely felt like it still was better for a mouse and keyboard. But the control experience isn't as bad as I was expecting.
Basically, they just did what they could.
Yeah, and there's only so much that they can do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, again, unless you want to use a mouse and keyboard on a PS3, which works, but it's kind of still not the most optimal
I hear
experience.
It basically sounds like Final Fantasy XI all over again. They just can't quite figure out how to make it optimal for both platforms.
Yeah, and I don't think that's Square's fault. I mean,
No,
that's just
it's
the
the
genre's
limitations.
fault. It's
Nature of the beast.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I mean, overall, as far as the game itself, regardless of what you're playing it on, what were your expectations going in? Did it surpass them or fall short?
I had extremely low expectations going in because if you think about it, an MMO shouldn't be playing on a console. It did surpass those expectations in that it was playable. It was great that I could just relax on my couch, kick back, play some games, get frustrated because yet again it kind of targeted the wrong thing and I attacked it. And now that thing's mad at me, and that thing was 5 levels above me. But overall, it's playable. I think the PS4, when I get my PS4 in, it'll be a lot better because you'll get more of those effects. But now that thanks for telling me I get the PC version for free pretty much because I'm going to go back and grab that.
I mean, I heard that. Just double check.
No, it's true.
Check their website. Oh, it is.
Yeah, I think you get that. I think you get you set up your account with Square and you just here's my account. Download the client, please.
There
I
you
think
go.
it's just
at
that's how
the
it works.
at the same time, does it know that because I purchased mine through PSN?
I think they're just calling it a license for the PS3, not.
Your account is tied to a specific game key, so if you have an active account, it's going to know that you have that game key associated.
And so
with it.
it'll let you download the client.
So, yeah.
Well, that's good. That'll be a lot better because this experience wasn't terrible. It's just the choppy frame rate in town, and then it would have been nice that sometimes to be able to chew out the gold spammers constantly and report them.
So I mean, overall, buy it on PC.
Buy it on PC if you only have a PS3, you can't afford a decent PC. It's an acceptable and playable game. It's just not. It's not. From what I understand, it's not what the game is supposed to be.
Get a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, get a mouse and keyboard, and save up for a PC.
There you go. All right, cool. Well, moving on from there, one thing that I'd like to do anytime we have a new person on the show, I want to let them kind of choose their own top 5.
Yeah, kind of match ours up.
And Stitch chose to go ahead and do the one that we're doing. He's going to do his top 5 MMOs. So we'll go ahead and knock it out, man. You're number 5. What do you got?
All right, so I've played MMOs. I like to try them out sometimes. So my list isn't the most detailed of all time, but I think I have enough experience where I wouldn't say I'm an MMO maniac, but once in a while I get that tinge to grind.
Sure.
So number 5, free to play right now. I think it's all right. It's nothing fantastic, but it's fun to play, and it's free to play. So why not try it? It's Dungeons and Dragons Online. Perfectly fine. I mean, I can definitely tell it has similarities with other free to play games that are by the same company. I forget what their name is, but that's pretty obvious. It's following like the WoW formula, but it's all right. Nothing that fantastic.
One of the things that I like about D&D Online, I mean, I didn't play for very long, but I did like the fact that you could do dungeons in it, and it would adjust the dungeon difficulty depending on you could adjust it depending on how many people you had in your party to make it hard or easy. And the puzzles in there were actually kind of cool too. Like each dungeon had specific puzzles that you had to solve and stuff too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So,
and based on my knowledge, I think it also looked pretty good as well. But it's been a little while since I've tried to play it. Number 4, I go with Star Wars: The Old Republic. Fun, great game, fun to play, free to play, which is awesome.
Nowadays,
when
we played it, one.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. Like I have this issue with BioWare where I'm not terribly crazy about about their games, but I had a lot of fun with this one. I felt they did a good job with the Star Wars universe, actually recreating it. Giving you that nice experience, making you feel like you're actually in the Star Wars universe. Sure. Did kind of feel like a single player game where once in a while you saw somebody else run by you and like, oh, look at that, oh
yeah.
And then overall it was fun, had a good time. MMO, I use the term MMO on that game kind of loosely because
it's true.
I kind of like that though. Like I like because I love the Star Wars Old Republic, the single player games.
Mm-hmm.
I like playing through the story, and I liked being able to, in addition to playing through the story, being able to talk to my friends while I'm doing it, being like, "Oh, have you done this part yet? Oh, it's awesome!" Blah blah blah.
Like, my cool lightsaber is cool.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I said.
You did. He said it one time.
Everyone wants to hold a lightsaber.
Yes. Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Cool.
Number 3, I'm going to go with Final Fantasy 13. I did have
14.
a lot. 14.
You're good.
I need to go take a shower. It's at 13. I hated 13. 14. I did have a lot of fun with this game. It has a lot going for it, and any of the problems it has are easily fixable.
Sure. Yeah.
With the exception of the loading screens, I don't know what they plan on doing with that in the future. I hope that they fix that because that overall, removing the PS3 limitations, I think the biggest thing limiting that game is the fact are those loading screens. Like if I were to play that game on PC, I think I would have liked it a lot better. But just removing the PS3 factors, I think it has a lot of potential.
Cool.
Number 2, I'll go with Guild Wars 2. I had a lot of fun with this game.
Solid choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't know how they plan on sustaining this in the future, but I like that I paid $60 and we're done. I don't really I don't really have to spend any more money. Great. I love that. Makes me want to be in the world a little bit more. The longer I play, the more money I'm essentially getting back because the hours I'm getting out of that $60.
Well, and you can always come back to it any point.
You can pause. Hey, I'm done playing for a while. I'll come back.
Yeah, because every time you go for that credit card when you're on the internet, you're like,
Yep.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun. I like the idea that no matter how high a level you go, if you go back to in a lower area, it'll adjust your level, so you're still gaining experience.
Yep.
You're not stupidly overpowered, and I can't remember. Do they have PvP? I don't think so.
When we played,
that's about all end game is just PvP.
Yeah, I can't remember if you could kill other players, but
not out in the open world.
Yeah,
but
they did have it, and I remember my brother was talking about because he tried it.
It's just a big Zerg fest. That's all it is.
And he said that you don't get to carry over your gear. It's like stock gear.
Yeah.
It's
whoever's got the bigger group wins.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah,
I wasn't a big fan of it.
Yeah,
I don't think I did too much PvP, but I love the world. I never really got to explore all of it. Like he wanted to go back, but then the biggest issue I had is like I wanted to explore the world, but the character I was playing sounded really stiff. Every time he said anything, I was like, "This is the most miserable sounding guy I've ever heard in my life."
The storytelling though was really well done.
Yeah, but
agreed.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I said agreed. I do agree that it was good storytelling. I like the cutscenes,
but I got tired of hearing I got an achievement. I'm an achiever. I'm like, and I'm like, okay, we're done. I'll go back to you in a month.
All right.
Number 1, this is an obvious one. I think most people have this on their list because it's set the standard and it's impossible for people to break from it. Is World of Warcraft. I had a lot of fun when I went through my burn through of this game. MMOs don't hook me like it seems like it does most people. I'll be drawn into them for about a month or two, and then I'll kind of be done with them. And then once in a while, I might want to go back, but that's about it.
Yep.
But World of Warcraft to me actually really felt like a giant connected world. Once you load it up once, you're pretty much done loading screens
Right.
unless you went into a raid. That I love. It makes it feel like a world. It's interesting environments, the transitions, going from one environment to another. I just love the lore of the world. The Warcraft is just awesome in that there's a lot of backstory to everything. And if you don't want to get in the backstory, you're not going to be lost.
Right.
Definitely.
I think Blizzard did an excellent job of keeping that close. I'm hesitant to go back again now just because I feel like they should start a new MMO at this point. I know they're making a ton of money as it is, but for me to go back and have to buy Mist of Pandaria, which I wasn't really terribly looking forward to. I think like a lot of people give it better up, like, oh, it's just Kung Fu Panda the game, but Pandarians were in Warcraft 2, so they can't really say that. But well, not Warcraft number 2, but Warcraft TOO.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to play an MMO and this is your first time, I think World of Warcraft is probably the best introduction to MMOs you can have, and then you'll realize that everything kind of builds off of that. It seems. I mean, it's not to the fault of anybody doing it. It's just they perfected. They pretty much perfected it. I mean, there's issues with it that
Sure.
some people don't like, but I feel they just did it right.
You have any
And,
predictions on Titan? What it is?
It's hard to say. I mean, I'm just enthralled. I'm just enthralled that they're actually coming out with something new.
It's actually it's definitely a code name. Like,
Oh yeah,
right.
there's no question about that. I mean, they're just saying it's a next gen MMO, and I don't know what that is.
Because
And
so many people are like, "Oh, it's got to do with the Titans and World of Warcraft."
well,
I'm
they
like,
just recently said it has nothing to do with anything existing.
that's what I said. I was like, "Titans like Durango was for Xbox One. It's just a code name."
They recently scrapped everything that had to do with it, and they're starting from scratch
Yeah,
again.
That impresses
so-
me about Blizzard is they're not afraid to do that. Like if they can see something's like going wrong,
They want something. They want it to do well. Absolutely,
yeah.
nothing
And
wrong with that.
I mean, it's just like the same reason why I have respect for Valve and Rockstar. If this isn't just a job for them, this is an art form, and
Sure,
they can make a ton of money from it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd really like to see them announce something though.
they did save the. Oh, it's this for. I thought at first it was for Titan, but they did save the domain name, The Dark Below. However, I think that's for
Diablo.
the next. I think no,
I'm pretty sure it's Diablo.
no, The Dark Below. That's the next WoW expansion to be
Is it?
rumored. Yep. The new Diablo expansion just got announced.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I thought that's what it was.
No, The Dark Below is the
think
new
it's
WoW
WoW?
expansion. Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know. I feel they're trying to save a dying giant. I mean, it's still the most valuable. It's still the biggest MMO out there, but
Right. It's waning for sure.
yeah, it's going down, and they're trying to they're trying to patch all the holes in that ship. But I think just in general, the MMO genre is kind of suffering right now, just because even like Final Fantasy XIV it's very, very wowy, and I think it'll survive. It'll probably get up to like the second biggest, but it's still the whole thing. The MMO market's just shrinking because everyone's kind of getting over the idea of it. I mean, that's just my take on it. I don't think it's gonna go away completely, but I just don't think it's gonna be 15 million or whatever.
Until Destiny comes out.
The Diablo 3 expansion is called Reaper of Souls.
Yes.
I just looked it up.
Yep. It looks
Cool.
really good.
Interesting.
I actually recently started playing Diablo 3 again. It's so fun, but then just everything's so bleak and depressing, and then I'm just like,
They're taking away the auction house.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Completely gone.
Can't make money off of it anymore.
Oh,
man.
oh, it's not completely gone yet.
They're going to for the expansion. It's going to be gone. You're not going to be able to buy gear.
Oh.
You have to go farm it.
For the expansion, huh? Oh, so maybe that gave us a clue because they said in March of next year is when the auction house is going to close. So maybe that's when.
I mean, it'll be close to the expansion. They're doing it for the expansion. I don't know if it's going to be, but now you can't just do what I did and go, oh, I can't. I want to get my guy a bunch of gear. Should I do some runs? Nah, I'll just buy it all. So I bought my entire legendary set, and then I'm sitting them until the expansion.
See, I don't like the. I just can't spend real money.
I didn't spend real money. I spent
okay.
gold.
Okay. I just like people will actually go out. Like my buddy, basically paid for the expansion by selling all of his legendary gear. I was like, whoever did that.
I probably won't even get the expansion, to be honest with you.
I will. It looks great, and I like Diablo.
Did they release?
I like Diablo 2. I didn't like Diablo 3 that much.
I like as a new. And this is just my recommendation. As a new person coming in Diablo, you'll have a lot more fun with that game than as apparently an old person going into Diablo, because that was my first Diablo experience, and it was fun, especially when you get to the final level and everything's all colorful and crazy.
Yeah,
cool. All right. Well, with that, that pretty much wraps up the segment. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Stitch?
Nothing much. Just
keeping it real.
Keeping it real. Playing some more games. After I get my move finally done, I'm going to get back into playing some more GTA, and then
sounds good.
Wind Waker.
Nice. Thanks for stopping by and sharing your experience on Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn on the PS3.
Thank you for clarifying all that.
Thank you for
Brian.
You're welcome.
All right, man. We're gonna get Mark back in here, and then we will continue on.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you. All right, and with that, we will move into our top 5 for the week. We are doing our top 5 MMOs this week. Brian, give me a noise. Actually, you know what, Mark?
Yeah,
give me a noise that represents the millions of people who have joined the online sensation that is the World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm. He has no idea.
That was like a peasant sound from the first Warcraft.
I have no idea if that's what that was.
Yeah, that's funny.
Dub.
Nope. Zug zug.
Murlocs?
Zug
what
zug.
Sorry.
Yeah, zug zug.
That's the noise.
There we go.
There you go.
All right. I guess I'll start.
Go ahead. Number 5.
Number
for JJ.
5. My number 5, and looks like Brian's number 5 as well. Guild Wars 2. I think the story structure is fantastic. I love how, again, like we said with Final Fantasy XIV, it really puts you in the shoes of the character and makes you feel like you are creating an impact and making a difference in what's going on.
Yeah. Guild Wars 2, I'm not max level. I was really close when I stopped playing.
Terrible.
It's a very engaging game. I think the thing that sets Final Fantasy XIV apart from it, though, is I didn't necessarily think the visuals were all that impressive in Guild Wars 2. They were good.
Yeah.
They were good, but they weren't whoa, next gen.
They were a little more cartoony.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're kind
I
of
agree.
yeah, so, but it's still, I had a blast playing it.
For sure. All right, Mark, you're number 5?
All right. I was pretty hard-pressed to come up with 5 games I wanted to put on my list.
It looked like you just shoehorned this one in.
Yeah.
I didn't play a lot of The Secret World. I did play it right when it came out. I got a free thing because I was an Anarchy Online player or something. I don't remember. But I didn't like the gameplay that much, but I really liked the pseudo-realistic world with the real locations like Tokyo, London, America. And the way they brought in real mythos from the world, like alien abductions, UFOs, Bigfoot, the Illuminati, my personal favorite. In a lot of ways, it was kind of like the Deus Ex model, where they just took every popular mythos from around the world and tried to make one narrative out of it.
Just threw it all together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that game still active? I think it's free to play.
It is. It's been a rocky go for it, though.
Yeah. All right. We'll move on to our number 4s. My number 4 is Star Wars: The Old Republic. I like this game for the same reasons I like Final Fantasy XIV. Again, it's one of those where the story revolves around your character. Cutscenes all the time. You are super engaged, and you really feel like you are in control, and you're progressing your character. Mm-hmm. The only issue was, once you beat it, it was one of those where it felt like you just beat a single player game, and that was it. Other than that, I really liked it.
Excellent.
Mark, you're number 4.
My number 4 is Ultima Online. It's got an amazing setting based on the classic Western RPG series that started in the 80s.
Is it called Ultima?
Yeah, Ultima. You know what? Yeah.
I'm kidding.
It's a great story. You got Lord Blackthorn and Lord British, and
I hated the gameplay though. Oh man.
oh, come on.
I hated it. I like the housing system. That was about it. Man, it was.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It had a feature set that I really liked, which you really hated. But I still think that it's the penultimate MMORPG for a lot of reasons I won't go into. But just, if you want to know a really cool story, look up The Death of Lord British. That was I guess they were doing a beta test, and Lord British was coming out to address the city and give like a speech, like a GM-run live event.
Yeah.
And the last person who had logged into his account didn't turn on invincibility. So just a random guy in the crowd cast a spell on him and killed him. One-shotted him.
Jeez.
That's pretty awesome. But yeah, cool. That's my number 4.
Cool. Brian?
Yeah, hey, my number 4 is actually made my top 5. Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn. You might say, Brian, that's kind of premature to put it on your list at 4. I'm saying this game has been so good that it made my top 5 and it could go up further. So back off, Internet.
That's the main reason that I didn't put it on mine, is because it's early still.
I can already tell you that it's better than Guild Wars 2. I like it more than Guild Wars 2, and Guild Wars 2 is on my top 5. So I was like, you know what? It could fall off depending on how it goes, but I feel like it can only do better. So I put it on there. I'm not going to talk about it because we just did a whole segment on it. But yeah, it's Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn on my top 5, number 4.
Okay, number 3. My number 3 is Dark Age of Camelot. This is a very, very little known gem. Mm-hmm. It's another one of those that mixes stuff that we have in the real world. Not literally, but I mean like mythology and that kind of stuff. Like there's Norse mythology, there's King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. It just kind of melds all those really, really well together. And just the fact that I've always been really interested in that stuff in our world makes it to where, I really just enjoyed the game and the mythos and everything with that. I played this, actually my top 3 games are the ones that I played the longest out of any of them. I played this game for so long. This was the first one that I ever really got hooked into. And it was, I got to endgame and I played a fire wizard and I absolutely loved it. And I would go back in a heartbeat to that game because the PvP is the best I've ever seen in any MMO. If you want to check it out, just go YouTube and type in like RVR or something, Dark Age of Camelot. It would take a while to explain the whole process, but it's incredible. But Fane, Caledon, Roshi, if you guys are out there, this is Alwyn. Give me a shout. Just letting you guys know. I'd love to hear from you again. All right. So, Mark, your number 3.
My number 3 is World of Warcraft.
Hey, all right.
But I shocked everyone with that one.
Tell us about your experience with the World of Warcraft.
I played it when it first came out.
Vanilla player.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
The month it came out. Played for a little while, not that long. But it's a really good game, I guess. I hear it's a really good game. I did like, you can go to places that you remember from the old RTS games.
Yep.
Like I remember there was a battle here in Warcraft 2, and now I'm seeing it for the first time in 3D, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. And it was really polished. I have to admit that.
That's Blizzard's MO.
It came out and it ran well. And
you mean that's Blizzard's MMO?
Oh!
That was terrible. I know. Dang it.
I got it.
It doesn't necessarily have the feature set I'm looking for, but it's got a great plot. I mean, there's dictionary, like there's a Wikipedia.
Oh, the WoW Wikipedia
full
is
of
deep.
lore, and it's just insane.
I've delved through that thing, and it's deep.
Blizzard knows how to do lore.
Yep.
That's really all there is to it.
Nice. Brian.
All right, my number 3 MMO is EverQuest. Old. And I have a small yet obvious confession. I didn't actually play EverQuest that much. When EverQuest came out, I was pretty young. I think I was in junior high.
Who played it?
Listen. I'm going to set this up. We had a shared family computer, so obviously this awesome game came out. And it wasn't my brother Kyle, but it was my youngest brother Corey.
Oh, so your brother played it.
Yeah. Let me explain though. We only got about an hour and a half a turn on the computer, and if you know anything about MMOs, that's not a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
So I would just, I had a little time. I got to like level 20, I think was my highest, but it was just such an amazing. Where I remember when the expansion Shadows of Luklin came out, basically opened up the moon to explore. And I'm like, and this is back in the 90s when games, that's not normal, where you can just go anywhere. And I remember my first experience was I ran into a zone that I shouldn't have, and I got just completely one-shot. And I just thought that was like so cool because you're like, oh my God, that's a giant. I don't want to go there. But then mostly I watched my brothers play at higher levels. Surprise, surprise.
That's so weird.
But that game kind of set the tone for MMOs. I was like, oh man, if I had my own computer, I would just play this for hours. But of course I didn't, so I waited, patiently. And
sure.
So that's what it culminated into. Both my brother Kyle and Corey, they got to like level 40 or 50 when we were kids, and I know my brother Corey now. He's recently started replaying it, and he's up to like level like 90 or something, whatever, something ridiculous, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. That's my number 3. I watched my brothers play it.
Yes. We knew there was going to be one in there. So, all right. Number 2. My number 2 is World of Warcraft. I still play this game a couple of times a week just to raid with the guild that I'm in. This is probably the one that I've played consistently the longest. I've been also playing since the vanilla when it first came out, but it was on and off at first, and then when the third expansion came out, Wrath of the Lich King, I joined the guild that I'm in now, Phoenix, and I just became such good friends with the people in there that I literally play just to keep in touch with them. The game's okay. I shouldn't say it's okay. It's a great game. But I've been playing it for so long that I could totally stop right now and it wouldn't really bother me. I'm literally just playing just to keep in touch with them. As far as like the story and the lore and everything, playing the game itself, I never really paid attention to it that much. When I had my old job though, and I was working at a desk, I was in training, and like between I would have to do a couple of things and stuff, and then I would have to wait for the trainer to come back. So I would just be sitting at my desk surfing the web. I started reading the lore and everything, and it's so deep and so cool. Oh, yeah. Like I had never even looked into it, and I've been playing it for years. Mm-hmm. And once I finally got into that, it got me hooked. I started buying the books, and I started reading the quests while I was playing and stuff. And it's so cool. It really is. System. If you haven't given it a chance and you've played the game, check it out for sure. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
So that's my number 2, World of Warcraft. Mark.
My number 2 is Asheron's Call.
Hey,
I know JJ really likes that game, right?
It's the first MMO I ever played.
Oh, nice.
It is. I played with your brother.
Cool. I guess we were probably playing it around the same time that Brian was watching his brother play EverQuest. No, that's one of my favorites just because it was, at the time, one of the biggest open world maps in a game.
That's for sure.
You could run from the north of the continent all the way to the south of the continent, go to Shaoxi, my favorite city. There's the Ulthoi, which were like creepy alien, like H.R. Geiger alien-esque monstrosities that you'd have to fight.
I don't know anything about the lore, though, other than there was an island with Asheron on it.
Yeah, Asheron's Island.
Yeah, you could never go there.
Right.
That's the point.
Is that where he calls from?
Does he call you from that island?
He called people to the world where they were enslaved by the Ulthoi. There are also like these awesome like monthly big plot events that would happen, like
those
spires
cool.
rose from the ocean and monsters were attacking towns.
Yes.
At the end of the beta for the game, before it came out to retail, comets started coming down and destroying cities.
Yep.
Which was awesome. And a tremendous Managua rose from the ocean. It was like a 5-story tall monster.
Yep. And there was actually that is one of the things that I thought was amazing about that game was like the in-game events that they had. Mm-hmm. And I think Ultima Online had a couple of these too, but it wasn't as like it didn't affect the game world as much. It was just kind of like, well, you either do it or you don't, and that's it. This one, there was an event a while ago where one of the cities got attacked, and the players had to rush to defend the city. One server defended it. Every other server, that city's destroyed. On that server, it's still there. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
So, and I think that's a cool feature to have. But I mean, it's just so bland. There's really, I mean, it's another one that hasn't aged well. You literally just go in there and you
definitely.
just grind. You just level up, and that's it. There's really not much else that you do.
Yeah.
So
I could not go back and play it for sure.
It's not. Yeah,
But,
I wouldn't put it top 5. I've got some good memories from it because I had a good time playing with your brother and stuff. But yeah.
It might not be like a definitive top 5, but for me, it's some of my top 5 memories. So.
I can understand that. Absolutely, I appreciate that. All right, Brian, your number 2.
My number 2 is The Old Republic. You guys heard JJ talk about it. The reason it's so high on my list, though, I had so much fun leveling in that game. The story was so good, and I was playing as Sith, so I ended up looking kind of like a ninja Darth Vader at the end, and just the atmosphere. You're in the Star Wars universe.
Star Wars,
yeah. That's why I pushed it up there. I mean, the dungeons were cool. I love the dialogue trees you got to do with your party, where you got to like roll and see who picked. That was just a sweet thing. You're like, oh, I can try to determine what we say here. I was kind of playing an evil guy, so it'd be like, what do we do with these prisoners? And I always picked like the most evil thing, and I won it. Yes, now we have to kill the prisoners.
Yep.
I thought that was really cool. It was a really fun experience leveling. I mean, the only reason it's not number 1 is because it just fell apart when you hit max level. It just
You finish your story and you're like, oh,
okay,
all right.
Yeah, it just didn't have any steam left. There was nothing to do. I mean, just kind of sat around and
Granted, that was at launch. I mean, there could be
Sure.
more now. I haven't played it in a long time.
Right, but the problem is you have to hook people right away. It has to be something to do at in-game. That's what I was talking about earlier with WoW. They devoted all their time into, hey, when the players hit max level, they need something to do. That's why it had its shelf life so long, because they invested in it. But still, the Old Republic, if they end up coming out with like a really cool, I mean, I might go back, but I think Final Fantasy XIV's kind of hooked me. It's got about the same game.
You could make the argument as far as WoW goes that the game doesn't really even start until you hit and
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Leveling is kind of just an ancillary process where you have to do it. I mean, they've made improvements to it. God, the leveling in vanilla, if anybody leveled in vanilla,
it was terrible.
100% different than it was. Just a terrible experience. It was, slow.
Yep.
Star Wars Old Republic, that's my number 2. So we'll head on to our number 1s.
All right. My number 1 is Final Fantasy XI.
Oh, man. Putting this at number 1, you're brave.
You know what? I mean, it's kind of the same thing like Mark was saying with Asheron's Call. I have such great memories of this game. The only thing, and I played this one since launch in 2001. I still hop on every now and then. The only thing, it's not solo friendly at all. Like, you literally have to either have friends, or you've got to be able to get really lucky by getting in groups. You will. If you don't like grinding, you're not going to like the game.
Yeah,
it's very similar to 14 as far as one character can be everything and do everything. But you will literally sit, like anybody who's played 11 knows, you're sitting in Juno, you're sitting in Whitegate, and you're just shouting for 2-3 hours, trying to get somebody to invite you to a party. And then, you get into that party, you go, and if it fails, you got to start all over again and start shouting again. And if it doesn't fail, you're still going to be sitting there just literally just pulling one guy at a time, getting experience for them for, 5-6 hours, and just hoping you get one level out of it. And if you die, you lose a ton of experience, and you can even lose levels. I mean, it was brutal. But, again, it came out in 2001, and they haven't changed the structure that much.
Right.
I haven't played it in a while, and I know I've read that the leveling is a lot easier now, and it's a lot faster. So, but I haven't experienced it for myself. But, I mean, I just had such a great time. And, again, I'm a Final Fantasy freak, obviously.
Sure.
So, I just have such great memories from it. Katie, Sith Solo, Fast Fury. If you guys are out there, hook me up. It's Alwyn. It's Alwyn.
Alwyn here, guys. Alwyn.
It's just got some good memories. And, I mean, I would totally play again if I had a solid group to play with like I did back then. I just, people that I know that used to play don't play it anymore. So, but that's my number 1, Final Fantasy XI.
Nice. Can I do a shout out as well?
Real quick. I want to say on Final Fantasy XIV, they fixed that. It's very, very solo friendly.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like if you played 11 and it's not solo friendly, it's all about teamwork and being in parties. 14 is you can play by yourself the whole way through if you want to.
Yep.
So I just want to throw that out there. Go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say, if Cap Cool from the Private Shard is listening, please look up JJ.
Oh my god! You know what? I want to tell that story because
All right,
that's
I
a
think you
good
should.
that's
Go
a
ahead.
good story.
I think you should.
So, if you've ever played Ultima Online, chances are you've heard of private shards, which is basically like a private server run by a player.
Totally legal.
Totally legal, totally free. John's brother Mark, or Mark's brother John,
Maybe.
rather, ran one at one point. We had probably like, there wasn't like a massive amount of players. There was maybe, I think the most we ever had on was maybe 10 people, 15 people, something like that. I don't know what started it, but there was some, my guy's name was Cecil, the name for Final Fantasy IV. And I was just a regular, sword shield guy, and I just ran around and hacked stuff with my sword and shield. Well, there was a guy on there named Capcool, who, for some reason, I don't know, him and I just didn't get along, and we always would fight every time we saw each other, and we would always get in arguments, and, whatever. Well, you get your own houses in that game, and literally, like, everything is movable and replaceable by the person who owns the server, who, in turn, can also grant access to other people to do that as well. Well, I was helping John set up the server, so he gave me access to move stuff around and do everything like that. We were playing one night, and he forgot to turn that off. So Capcool and I, we get into it like we always did and stuff. So I call John and our other friend Justin, and Justin had this big old frost dragon with him as a pet named Frosty, and we're all just in the main city and stuff, and Capcool's just talking crap and everything, and I can't attack him there because if I do, the guards will kill me. So I'm like, all right, why don't you step outside of town, see what happens, blah blah blah. So he does. He runs out of town and just bolts for his home. And because if you go into your house, you can lock the door and nobody can get in. So he bolts, and I'm like, all right, let's get him. So the three of us just start running after him, going after him and stuff like that. He's talking crap the whole way over there. You just see the chat bubbles and stuff coming over his head and everything. We get to his house, and he closes the door, and he types out, ha ha. And you can just see it. I'm like, dang it. And I go, wait, John, did you ever turn off the my all access on there? And he goes, no. So I just grabbed his front door, ripped it off, set it aside, and ran in, and then we killed him. The dude just started cussing us out and going nuts. That's blah, 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 blah. He had no idea that John was the one who ran the server.
Right.
So he starts complaining to John's GM character, and he's like, hey, these guys were blah, blah, blah. And John's like, oh, I'll talk to him. I'll make sure that everything's okay and stuff. I mean, it was just a good memory from that. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget Capcool. John actually made a sword called Capcool's Death at one point and gave it to me. Yeah, it was great. So that's a little
experience.
tidbit
Yep.
of info. I believe we're on Mark's number one.
Yes.
Yep.
My number one is Anarchy Online,
Oh man.
which was on someone's list until it disappeared.
I know it was my number 5, and then I realized
Not so
I
much.
forgot about Guild Wars 2. So sorry.
Yeah. This is probably my favorite MMO RPG that I played. It's got the best lore. I know some people think it's confusing, but the lore is awesome. Have you guys read Dune or watched any of the Dune movies or any of that?
A
Do you
long
know
time
Dune?
ago.
I've seen the movie, and
So-
I was like, "What is going on in this movie?"
Well, maybe it is confusing then. No, it's just quintessentially the Dune story, whereas Dune is the spice must flow. This is Notum. Notum is this resource that only exists on one planet called Rubica, and it's required for all of the nanotechnology they've designed and used in their civilization. So there's a constant war over control of Notum, essentially, and it leads to all sorts of shenanigans between Omnitech Corporation and the clans. The lore is so good, in fact, that there's a novel that was released when the game came out called Profit Without Honor, which starts during the Cold War on Earth, ends up at the advent of nanotechnology and the downfall of mankind, and then goes all the way thousands of years into the future to Rubica.
Oh wow!
That's cool.
It's written by Ragnar Tornquist.
What's the point of the neutral though? There's the
The
Omnitech.
neutrals haven't decided whose side they're on,
I know, and then they never do.
right?
They don't like participate in PvP or anything. They're
Just
just
kinda
kind of
like
there. Yeah, like yeah.
Here's the deal. You can start out as neutral and then choose a side, but you can never switch back to neutral once you've left.
Oh,
So-
I didn't know you could choose a side later on.
Yeah, you can.
I thought
change
once you were
sides.
neutral, you were always neutral.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a little better. I
Makes
guess.
more sense.
Yeah. I honestly, I never played clan side. Actually, I was
Right.
always Omnitech, just because their cities were a heck of a lot cooler.
Yeah, they have pretty cool cities.
I would honestly, this is one game that I would love to get back into if they ever bring out that graphics update, because they keep saying they're going to do it and they just haven't. I mean, it's been years,
Yeah,
but it's graphically it hasn't aged very well.
it does not. It
But-
looks really bad, and when you jump, you will.
That's another
really
game
disappointed.
that's another game that I've got some great memories. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, when your brother was still in college, and I went up to Iowa to visit him up there and stayed there for a couple of days. I mean, we played this for like 2 days straight.
Yeah.
And I had a blast. I met people in his organization, which is like a guild. And if any of you guys are listening, this is Rokon. But I don't remember the name of the org though. Do you?
I wasn't in it.
You weren't?
No,
Oh.
I
Oh.
played. John got really into it after I was pretty much done with it.
Oh.
So
Okay.
I made another run at it when Shadowlands came out,
Yeah.
which is I would say one of the best expansions to an MMORPG. It's like an entire separate game. It wasn't like higher up. It wasn't like, okay, here's more end game.
No, I agree, there
Here's
was like
another
a-
track from
Yeah.
level 1 to the end.
Man.
I never
It's
played Anarchy, so I don't even know.
so grindy, and it was, imagine like grindy where you're just killing mobs over and over again to get experience to level up, but at the same time it's WoW's combat pace. So it's like, I guess if you like that, then it's
Yeah.
great. But
And what about the longest road? What about the mission terminals? Remember the mission terminals?
yeah, they were all the exact same.
Sort of.
You go into a building and you just go to the floor that it tells you to go to, and you go in and you either kill somebody or find an item, and that's it.
But it's awesome.
It's the subway was cool,
Yeah.
I'll say, but that was level like 10, and there's like 220 levels.
Oh.
So yeah, I think the highest I ever got was like 130, something like that, maybe 140.
Right on.
Right.
I do have some good memories from it, and the people, the community's great in that game. They're all
Yep.
willing to help out. They're very, very nice.
Yes.
At least in my experience, it was awesome. But I don't know. I just, without having people to play, like a Final Fantasy game, 11, and I can tell with 14 it'll be the same way. I can totally play that on my own and be immersed in the world and have a good time with it. I can't do that with Anarchy Online. There's no way. I have to have other people who are there with me. I mean,
Yeah.
WoW is becoming that way for me too.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So-
That's understandable.
All right. Anything else to add on Anarchy Online?
I was going to say it was written by Ragnar Tornquist, who is also the lead writer for The Secret World,
Oh,
and recently had successfully kickstarted the continuation of his single-player adventure series, The Longest Journey. So
Oh,
just a
very
little
cool.
shout out to him because he's a really talented writer.
cool. Nice. You know what? And now that you mention it, yeah, I forgot they were made by the same company.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Cool. Ryan, you're number one.
All right, my number one shouldn't surprise many people, and I don't care what anybody says. This is the king of MMOs. It's World of Warcraft. I know you EVE Online people are gonna be all pissy, and I know people. There's a lot of hate. Anytime you have a game that's this popular, you have a lot of people who just hate it because it's popular. I feel like that's like you can't tell me that this game didn't revolutionize MMOs because it did. Look at every spawn of MMOs come after WoW. They are all borrowing from WoW, which is what WoW did for the previous king, which was EverQuest.
Right.
They borrowed from EverQuest, and so people when they're like, "Oh WoW," blah, blah, I just look at them. I'm like, "It's you can't tell me that it's not a revolutionary MMO."
Even if you don't like it, you can't deny the impact that it made.
That's what I'm
Absolutely.
trying to say.
Yeah,
You don't have
for
to
sure.
like it, but you can't be like, it's a crappy MMO. Maybe you don't like it, I get it, but when you have, what they peak at, 13 million subscribers or
Yeah.
12 million, when you peak at that kind of subscriber base, you don't really have to say anything. It's like, okay, well, our numbers speak for
Obviously, they're doing
itself.
something right.
Right, and
Yeah.
what are they? They're talking about, oh, WoW's waning, and I get it. It's a 10-year anniversary next year for WoW. I get that it's waning, but it's like, oh yeah, we're down to like 7 million subscribers.
That's
Okay,
still in the lead by a long shot.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yep.
they're still, and I played WoW from almost day one. I think it was like a week or two after it came out. And I have friends, real life friends that I made from that game, kind of like JJ has community. Like I joined a guild in 2005 that I pretty much, barring a few server transfers and a few burnouts, stayed in that guild for what is it, 8 years, 9 years. I'm a retired WoW player now, but I mean, he's still the guild leader and his brother are still.
Well, that's how you and I became friends.
That's exactly right.
I mean, we worked together, but
Right.
at the same time, like, I think you found out that I played because I was kind of talking to other people at work about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, we just kind of just got our own little group.
Yep, and
We were all WoW players.
Boom. I mean, I remember when WoW was at its peak, when it was at the 12 million. I remember I'd log on, and I had they had that real ID with your real life friends,
Yep.
and the thing I had a scroll bar for that thing. There were like 20, 30 people of my real life friends on, like a whole community, the whole town that was online. So I have just such fond memories of that. I mean, I've seen it from every iteration. I've been there for every expansion, and so watching it grow like that, because it's at this point, it's almost as a jarring difference from vanilla to now than Realm Reborn is from its first iteration to now. It's you don't even recognize it. You're like, I mean, it's still got the flavor, it's still got the flair, but it's nothing like vanilla at all. And there's a lot of people who are like, they kind of long for the vanilla days, but I like the direction they're going. But man, that game,
Definitely.
World of Warcraft, shout out to Garrett and Greg, the guild leaders of Keepers of the Shadow, or COTS as we like to be called. It was good. It's fun times. A lot of raiding, a lot of tears, a lot of screaming. However, I did have one story from WoW. My first raiding experience actually was not with Keeper Shadow. I joined them about a year into the game. The way it brought you together with communities. I don't know if you I don't know if you guys know how the Asian market works as far as MMOs go, but they don't pay for a month. They pay for like hours. So a lot of it's being played in like internet cafes.
Oh yeah.
So they go and they pay, hey, I'm going to play for like 2 hours, log on, okay, here you go. Well, my first guild, I was an Alliance Druid, and this is only raid available was Molten Core. There was nothing else out, and so everyone's trying to kill Ragnaros, and we're playing with a guy who, I think he lived in, it was either Japan or it was Korea. I don't remember. It was such a long time ago. But my fondest memory of him was screaming at the guild over Ventrilo that he only had 30 minutes left in this cafe. He would commute. So understand the time difference. He would commute on a train, get to this cafe, and help us raid when we had raid times. And pretty poor English. And we were in a top guild at the time, so we were doing well. But he wanted to kill Ragnaros before he had to leave. He only paid for this amount of time. He blocked it out, and so we're coming down to the wire, and I think he's one of our warrior tanks at the time. We're coming down to the wire, and we kill Rag first time, and we all had to throw off our headsets because this dude, mind you, he's in a public internet cafe, stands up and at the top of his lungs screams profanities in whatever language he was speaking so loud that it made my speakers reverb.
What did it sound like?
I can't even. It was like. And you can imagine everybody in the cafe like jumping and then that was the last we heard of him. That's I think he got kicked out of the cafe. I mean, he didn't raid with us after that point ever again, and it was one of my favorite stories because I was like, this dude just flipped his lid in a public I imagine him kicking over chairs, and he was really excited.
Oh man,
it was fun.
Cool.
So that's my number one, World of Warcraft.
All right. Well, that's our top 5 then. Top 5 MMOs.
Yep.
Moving right along. Emails. We actually we didn't get any, so which is funny because we've been gone for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So
We got some retweets.
We did. I retweeted some of the stuff on there.
Some Hype Man Certified retweeted.
All right.
Sorry.
Oh boy.
I like the name.
There you go. We did our bi-weekly question that we posed last time, though. We're going to go ahead and talk about this a little bit, and I'll read some responses that we got online. So, I mean, it was pretty simple. JRPG or WRPG?
Japanese or Western?
Japanese or Western role-playing game?
I know how JJ's going to vote.
Down the middle. I like him, but no. I'm kidding. I mean... Well, I'll go ahead and I'll read some of the responses here first. Okay. Facebook, we got Steven says JRPG. Says, maybe this is a weird comparison, but I like the Deus Ex System Shock-styled FPSs over open world like Skyrim or whatever in the end. Linearity is progressive, and I like that, but with branches along the way. I like options, but with a clear direction with where to go in the end. JRPGs sometimes do this well and sometimes not. Could be too linear, but yeah, I guess that sums it up. And I like being told a story from the outside rather than a game trying to make me the avatar, which from what I've noticed, a lot of Western RPGs go for. I agree. David actually, David pretty much says exactly how I feel. He says, for me, it's always been JRPGs. A lot of Western RPGs have an open world to them, like the Elder Scrolls series. I tend to get overwhelmed with everything to do in the game. This last generation, Western RPGs were on the rise with the releases of Skyrim, Mass Effect, and Fallout. I can see JRPGs making a comeback this upcoming generation, with recent releases like Ni no Kuni, Tales of Xillia, and upcoming releases of Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy XV. I agree. I get overwhelmed a lot in Skyrim and Fallout and stuff, and that's not a bad thing at all. I mean, having things to do is great.
Content is good,
but there's I don't know how to explain it. There's so many other games that I want to play that I don't want to devote that much time to a single player game because I don't generally do a lot of the extra stuff. I like just having the story. I like reading the story from beginning to end and seeing that, and that's what JRPGs deliver. They give me my characters, they give me the development. It's not necessarily I would probably say in defense of Western RPGs, they're more role-playing game-ish in my opinion because you are the one deciding what's going to happen and what's going to take place. But I like the structure of JRPGs. I like to follow that story along. I like to just see what happens to the characters. I don't necessarily need to be the one behind the wheel making the decisions. I just want to see what happens. That's all. And that's kind of why for me, JRPGs, definitely. Mark, I think you are on the opposite side of the fence.
Well, I don't know how I want to tackle this question because it's kind of like saying, do you prefer Mexican food or Chinese food?
Yeah.
I like both.
Yeah.
I want, it's what I'm in the mood for.
Yeah.
So, they're both awesome. I don't want to say one's not awesome. But if you were going to ask me which one I think is harder to accomplish something in, which one is like a higher art form, so to speak, I would say maybe Western RPGs. Because JRPGs are pretty linear. They're essentially doing what storytellers have done in movies and books for decades, generations, depending on what medium you're talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're telling a linear story, which I think makes it easier to design a game. Because it's
sure
random battles, exploring the world map, going from one story point to the next story point. They don't have to plan for all the externalities that could possibly happen in the game. Whereas with a Western RPG, you're running simulations upon simulations. You've got the day-night cycles. You've got forking narratives where you could choose one of 10 ways to approach a mission. And, it's a complex question.
I think a lot of it, at least in my case, comes from the nostalgia factor. JRPGs are what popularized everything. They are the ones that were first out of the gate, and they're the ones that when you now you say RPG and you could think either JRPG or Western
right.
RPG. Back during the Super Nintendo, even early PlayStation, that kind of stuff. If you said RPG, you were thinking Final Fantasy, you were thinking
Correct.
Breath of Fire, you were thinking JRPGs.
I would take issue with that to an extent. I agree they were the ones that popularized the RPG, but they weren't the first ones out of the gate. We're looking at roguelike games that were coming out in the early 80s. Wasteland came out in 88.
That's true, yeah.
The Ultima series was in the mid-80s, whereas Final Fantasy I was 1987, and Dungeon Quest 1 was 1986.
That's true.
So I think Western RPGs were out of the gate first, but they didn't have those kind of crafted experiences that people were looking for yet. They were just more about the simulations, the randomized dungeons, stuff like that.
I don't think people were ready for it
Yeah.
at the time. Obviously people still like it because those games were huge.
Right.
But I think now we're starting to see so many Western RPGs become more popular because JRPGs do follow a very similar formula, from one to the next.
And if I can jump in here, I'm about as in the middle of the road as you can possibly be in this situation. But what JJ just said is my biggest problem with JRPGs is think about it really hard. how different are JRPGs today, story-wise, than they were back when they first started. They're not any different at all. They don't branch out. They don't do. The graphics have updated. They've maybe tweaked gameplay, but essentially in JRPGs, you have a main antagonist, a main protagonist, a group of friends. They go on an all-inclusive adventure. And then what is up in JRPGs with it devolving into some weird random thing where the bad guy turns into like 7 different forms and you're in like some weird starry world?
Yeah.
Like my brother was talking to me about Kingdom Hearts, and I'm like, when I have to describe a final boss as, oh yeah, did you get to fight that thing where the guy turns into the giant ship-like thing and then you had to punch his face? Like, that just sounds JRPG to me. Like, oh, do you remember that Sephiroth fight when he turned into that giant blobby thing, and then he turned into the giant winged angel thing, and then they had no feet, but he had...
They really like to do that thing where it's like, just when you think it's over...
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. How many are different now? I mean, you could seriously... Final Fantasy I, when it first came out, oh, gonna go kill Garland. Oh, now you're in this like starry world, and he summons a big chaos beast. You're like, it's the same. It's always the same. That's my biggest problem with JRPG. Go ahead, Mark.
I found that interesting because I felt like with Chrono Trigger, they were almost trying to break out of that shell.
But they
with
didn't.
Some, like at the very beginning, the choices you make coming back in the trial and stuff you do in the past affecting the future. But then they just went right back to being super linear.
That was one of my points. Yeah, it's like in the same thing in the boss battle. So you fight 30 minutes, all the bosses you go through in the shell of Lavos. Then you go into Lavos and you fight this big contraption thing, and that dies, and then there's this alien inside, and you're like, what is going on here? Like, can I just not kill the big giant thing and be like, oh, you did it? No, you got to have, and I'm almost used to it with JRPGs, like, oh, this is not the final boss. He doesn't look weird enough.
Better save your MP.
But honestly, because they did that before, I think that's the expectation as well. I mean, look at my review of Tales of Xillia in the last episode.
Yeah.
But like I said, the final boss battle was very anticlimactic because there was no, like, morph into something bigger
it's
and better.
grotesque,
it was just like, you're like, all right, here we go. Let's do it. Oh, I'm done? Oh, all right.
I agree with you, and I have some. And this is why I say I'm so in the middle, because I have so much love for so many JRPGs. Mm-hmm. But then I thought about that the other day, like, how different are they? Like, how have they changed? Okay, they've gotten better graphics. They've gotten better, like,
but if it ain't broke...
Yeah, but that's where my problem is. Like, I can play multiple Western RPGs in a row because they feel different to me. But honestly, if I was to play several JRPGs in a row, they would all feel like the same thing, just different characters. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like, if I was to play Final Fantasy, let's say Final Fantasy V, and then jump over to like Xenogears or Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross, and then jump over to let's say Legend of Dragoon or another Final. It's like,
or if you were to play Final Fantasy 1 and then continue to Final Fantasy 2 for your journey.
Yeah.
But that would be just crazy.
But do you know what I'm saying? They all feel like they run together. It's like, oh, just different skins. Mm-hmm. They have small tweaks, but that's my biggest problem with JRPGs is they don't change the formula ever. And so I feel like with that, they can have great games. I still love them, but I can't play them. Like, I can't just play JRPG after JRPG because I'm like, ugh.
No, I completely agree. Yeah. To simplify it, I'll still, if I see a Western RPG that I want to play, I'm going to get it. If I see a JRPG that I want to play, I'm going to get it.
Right.
I'm not going to knock either one. I'm a big fan. So, just point blank, what do we prefer? Me, JRPG. Mark?
I can't decide. They're both good.
Both good.
Got to pick one.
I have to.
Yep.
My fate is sealed once I say it.
Yep. It's
man.
Immortalized.
Make a decision.
I would say that the highest highs I've experienced are from JRPGs.
Okay.
Even though I say I'm in the middle, I think Mark's the most memories I have of the like, oh my god moments did come from JRPGs. So I have to say JRPG as well.
Alrighty. Well, I mean that pretty much wraps up this episode for the most part. I'll go ahead and talk about. I already posted this on the Facebook page. Like I said, we're going to be recording 2 episodes today, so this question is already out there. But the question that I posed for the next one that we'll be discussing in the next episode is what's more important for a new console: being first out of the gate with new technology, or taking extra time to build a launch library? We got a couple of responses on there, and again, we'll go over it on the next episode. With that, I want to give a quick shout out to Final Boss Power on iTunes for giving us a short little review on there. We really appreciate that. Please subscribe to us, rate us on iTunes, check us out on there. I'll just do a search for the Frozen North, and we're the first one on the list. Email us at frozennorthpodcast@gmail.com. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/thefrozennorth. And follow us on Twitter at FN Podcast.
The FN Podcast,
FN
man.
Podcast. That's never going to get old.
Mm-mm.
Join us again next time for episode 7, where we are going to talk about our top 5 video game consoles. So with that, this is JJ signing off.
This is Mark. See you later.
Hi, I'm Brian, and I'm leaving.
Perfect.
This song was made available via the Creative Commons Attribution License. The song, Somewhere in the Stars, was written and produced by SoundCloud user _TWC.